Did Paramount destroy Strange New Worlds Season 2? Just like they destroyed Discovery! All this and more on today's episode of... Well, if it isn't the second season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds beaming down from the celestial Paramount Plus mothership. Now, I'm not one to gush like a geyser on a hot summer day, but this season is nothing short of a warp-speed joyride through the cosmos. It's like someone took the best bits of Star Trek, added a dash of whimsy, and baked it all in a futuristic oven set to delightful. The characters, bless their little space boots, continue to evolve like a tribble on a diet of quadritritical. Their relationships twist and turn like a Romulan warbird navigating an asteroid field. The stories are as playful as a Ferengi with a bag of gold-pressed latinum, and yet they carry a lightness that's as refreshing as a glass of Tranya on a hot day in the Corbomite mines. Now, the show's writers have been clever little beavers, borrowing a writing structure from the 1980s era of Trek. Remember when Gene Roddenberry, the granddaddy of Star Trek, decided that all the characters should get along like a bunch of space hippies at a love-in? Well, the writers of Strange New Worlds have taken that idea and given it a good old-fashioned Vulcan nerve pinch. Instead of focusing on the entire ensemble, each episode zeroes in on a single character like a tractor beam on a stray shuttlecraft. For instance, there's an episode where Commander Una Chin Riley finds herself in a spot of bother with Starfleet for a little fib on her application. Turns out she's not a human, but a genetically enhanced Illyrian. Now, I'm not one to judge, but Starfleet seems to have a bit of a bee in its bonnet about genetic manipulation. Something about a eugenics war. Anyway, the episode focuses on Una's trial and her defense, which is as eloquent as Captain Picard's "the line must be drawn here" speech. The stakes in these episodes aren't galaxy-shattering, but they're as human as Dr. McCoy's bedside manner. We're treated to a smorgasbord of legal philosophy, warmth, and humanity. It's like a Starfleet Academy seminar, but with better dialogue and less techno-babble. Now, let's talk about the new chief engineer, Lieutenant Palia, Carol Kane. She's as laid back as a Horta on a silicon diet and has a knack for butting heads with the more protocol-minded crew members. But like a Vulcan and a Romulan at a family reunion, they eventually find a middle ground. The show also has a knack for making the most out of a tight budget. If they've only got 3 rooms to film in, they'll squeeze every last drop of drama out of them, like a Klingon wringing the neck of a Targ. There's an episode where Leanne and a young James Kirk, Paul Wesley, find themselves stranded in 21st century Toronto. They eat hot dogs, play chess, and try to figure out why they've been thrown back in time. It's like a Star Trek version of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but with less air guitar and more temporal anomalies. The show isn't without its moments of nostalgia, though. There's a scene where a young Kirk boards the Enterprise for the first time and meets Uhura and Spock. It's like watching the Beatles meet for the first time, but with more pointed ears and less Liverpudlian accents. But what really sets Strange New Worlds apart is its lightness. It's as breezy as a summer day on Risa, with a sense of whimsy that's as infectious as a case of Rigelian fever. The characters don't just walk around with phasers and tricorders. They wink, they sparkle, they smile. It's as if they've all been sipping Romulan ale and decided that life in the 23rd century isn't so bad after all. Now, let's take a moment to talk about Palia. She's a species that lives for thousands of years, which makes her about as old as a Vulcan on his second Pon farr. She's the Enterprise's chief engineer and has a casual, devil-may-care attitude that's as refreshing as a dip in the waters of Lake Elnar. She's a bit of a pack rat, a little shaggy around the edges, and doesn't seem to care about anything beyond the crisis at hand. She's a breath of fresh air in the sometimes stuffy corridors of Starfleet. The first season of Strange New Worlds was a pleasant surprise, like finding a stash of dilithium crystals in your backyard. But the second season? It's like discovering a wormhole to a galaxy full of dilithium crystals. It's taken everything that makes Star Trek great and amplified it, like a warp core breach in slow motion. Later in the season, there's a crossover with Lower Decks, another shining star in the Star Trek universe. If that doesn't get your dilithium crystals humming, I don't know what will. Star Trek Strange New Worlds starts streaming on Paramount Plus on June 15th, 2023. So grab your tricorder, set your phaser to fun, and prepare to beam up to a world of adventure. Because, as Spock would say, it's only logical.